Morning folks, JJ here with San Juan Waterworks. Today we're going to talk about cleaning out a spin clean filter. Most pump systems have some sort of filter on there. Spin clean filter is probably the most common one. We're going to cover how to clean that thing today. Alright, so we're going to talk about cleaning up our spin clean filter here. The reason that we would do this is that we would see less pressure on the sprinkler system than we're used to seeing. Obviously there's a restriction somewhere at that point. This filter in here does clog up with stuff, and once it does, you're moving less water than you used to. So if you're seeing a reduction in pressure or volume out in your sprinkler system, one of the first things you want to do is take a look at that filter that's actually on the inside of there. So the first thing we're going to want to do is to bleed off the excess pressure in the sprinkler system. You're never going to be able to turn this if it's under pressure. So there should be some way to relieve that pressure. In this one we have a nice little ball valve here. We're just going to open that up and alleviate any of that excess pressure. Obviously there's not a lot there. Depending on your setup in your system, you may have quite a bit of water that comes out of this. Either way, wait until that's done and it has alleviated the pressure. Then the next thing we're going to do is unthread this collar here. Hopefully you got a little handy wrench somewhere nearby that came with your sprinkler system. If not, a big pair of channel locks or even a strap wrench can work. But what we're wanting to do is to spin this collar. So we'll take our wrench and we're turning counterclockwise. Once that breaks free, you should be able to just spin it by hand. You can see there's two pieces to this, right? Oh my goodness, this one really needs to be cleaned. I'm glad we got into here. So, your filter is hiding up inside of this assembly. This top cap is forcing that water to spin through this screen, collecting all this debris so it doesn't end up in our sprinkler system. Exactly what we want. So once you've got this out, you want to clean this up real good. So, first thing we'll do is dump out all this big stuff. You can literally just shake out, use your hand, get all that big stuff out of there. Once you get that, you're going to want to rinse all that out. So there is this O-ring that lives on the inside here. This is famous for disappearing while we're doing this. I like to put a thumb on there just so I know it's not going to disappear, but you're just going to give that a good rinse. Now that we've got all that debris out of there, that's good to go. We're going to remove the top lid off of this. It just sits into there. And then same thing, we're just going to scrub up this screen real nice. I've got this little wire brush I like to use. Old toothbrush, whatever works though. Essentially you just want all that crud off of the screen, right? Once you got that screen nice and cleaned up, we're ready to put everything back together. Okay, so we're ready to put everything back together here. First thing you want to do is put your spin portion of your spin clean back on. It doesn't matter which side this goes into, it fit into either one just the same. But what is important is that this spin goes into the assembly first. You never want this facing down, you'd want it to go in this way first. Alright, so we're ready to thread this cap back on now that we've got our screen in place there. Double check that O-ring one more time and just make sure that it's sitting in that channel properly. If that's popped out at all, it'll cause it to leak as you're tightening it up there. Once it's there, you're just going to put it back together and then tighten her back up. Get it hand tight for starters, and then take your wrench and give it a good snug. Now we're going to want to make sure our ball valve is closed so that water doesn't come spraying out as we turn it back on to check to make sure everything works. Now that we've got this sprinkler system running, we can clearly see there's no leaks coming from our filter. Everybody's nice and tight. Pressures are back up. Makes a big difference not having all that junk in the way.